Okay, I'm going to demonstrate the Super Metroid Path Assistant, which is a system that looks at the RAM state of the emulator and creates some guidance as to where the player should be going based on that. Unfortunately, right now it doesn't know where this ship is, so I have to start it off by going to this door. It knows where all the doors in the game are and where all the items are. So as long as you're near a door and near an item, it'll be able to correctly figure out what the path is. Now over here, outside of the emulator, I have this map view, which shows a map of the whole game. Thank you, Benoal, for the like they're the person that made this the actual like underlying leaflet file. The overlay here is something that shows like every region of the game and along with each room and the room name. Um, and then we have the interesting part, which is we have this pink thing, which is showing my current player position, which you can see is pretty much right. Uh, then there's three parts of the path. There's this yellow part, which is showing you what the next step is, what the current location that the underlying system thinks you should go to. The green part is showing you all the steps until we get the next item that you should get on the progression path, which is, in this case, we're going to be getting the morph ball first. So that's all the way down here. And this green path is showing us that, like, indeed, the next thing to do is go get the morph ball. Now, the gray lines are showing the entire rest of the plan to beat the game, which at the end of the game, you have to get back to this ship and finish the game there. And I'm pretty sure that the last segment overlaps with this segment, so you can't see it at the moment. But the gray lines are all over the map because we actually need to, you know, go pretty much everywhere in the game in order to beat the game. So without further ado, let's zoom in on where we currently are and let's play some and watch it update. The player position is going to update live. This arrow on the emulator is going to update live. And then the paths on the thing are going to be not quite live. But, you can see that it eventually figured out that we are on the step going from the top to the bottom. Now we're on this step, and yeah. Yeah, oh yeah. Okay, so we need to, unfortunately it doesn't track the player. That's kind of an in progress thing, so at the moment we're just going along with whatever this thing says to do. We don't really have a choice, actually. This elevator is not actually as long as it appears on the map, but you know, you can keep up with that. And you can see, you know, currently we're on this step to go get the item. There's no green path because the green path is the same as the golden path, which is like there's one step to get the next item. But now it's updated, showing us that we need to get the missiles next. So let's go do that. Okay, it's important to recognize though that this thing is adapting to whatever I decide to do in the game. So right now it's telling me, you know, I should go to the upper left part of this room. But what if I don't want to do that? So let's just go in here. And already the system has figured out, like, I'm not where I was supposed to be. If I get this missile, you can see over here that we're actually getting a new yellow path, which is saying, you know, okay, it's great that you got that missile, but you actually need to go where I said to go initially in order to finish the game. And indeed I do, so let's keep going a little bit. I guess I'll play up to like Bomb Taritza or something like that. And we'll see exactly what it's capable of. well, I guess we won't see the full thing, but you know, now it's telling me go up this elevator, which you know I'm trying. Unfortunately, whenever I focus on the map window, the game goes out of focus, but that's okay. Um, it doesn't have any advice for like how to. It doesn't know anything about what's going on in the game, so it doesn't have any advice for how to do any of these paths. In this case, I need to actually defeat all these enemies in order to get out of this room. And the system doesn't know anything about that, but it is aware of like when you need to use an item to get through a room. How do you do that? Or like which items you actually need. That's why it didn't try to tell me just to skip the morphball, because it knows that morphball is required. And in particular, it knows that inductively. It doesn't actually know that morphball is required, it just knows the particular rooms and which particular parts of those rooms you need morphball to traverse. And then, you know, it can figure out based on that like actually there's no path that doesn't get morphball. This particular system doesn't know about certain bugs in the game, like it's not, or I mean, okay, it's arguable whether they're bugs, but it doesn't know about mockball. It doesn't know about getting supers early. And actually, if you get supers early, you'll be in a state that it thinks is impossible. And I think it won't crash, but it'll stop giving you useful advice. Yeah, so now you can see it's telling us, well, the next step is to go get that energy tank. But we're gonna obviously get the bombs first. Yeah, so now we have to fight Bomb Chorizo. I'm not that great at this fight, so that's gonna be we defeated Bomb Chorizo. That's not actually any that's not setting any flags in the system because it's kind of encoded as you just get the bombs. But other bosses will set flags and will tell us about what's happening next. So now you can see the path is updating. We're getting our yellow thing, which is eating up the green thing, and eventually we'll get to the next. Let's see if I can pull this off. Yeah, nice. That's kind of a sequence break, but it doesn't meaningfully affect the game state, so I mean, I'm just not going to complain about that. And then, I guess it's telling us that we should be jumping over this item and then going back to get it, but doesn't really matter. Got it anyways. It is computing shortest paths, but in some cases, what counts as shortest is a little confusing because it's all kind of a node-based representation, so it doesn't have any internal representation of what the actual size of the space is. Yeah. So anyway, it seems like so far we're getting pretty good advice about where to go, because if you played this game casually, this is exactly what you have to do. Which, I mean, obviously the internal representation is designed to be right, so that's good, but at least we're checking. And I guess one other thing to note is at the top of my emulator, I'm displaying the times that it takes to do everything. The path inference time is the time that it takes to compute the whole path. But it's kind of neat in that the system is designed to be able to compute the next node that the player should go to almost instantaneously. So you can see, like, if I want the entire path, it's going to take a couple hundred milliseconds to get that, which is not, you know, it's not a huge cost, but you can't really do it every frame. However, the cost to get the next node is only 4 milliseconds. And notably, it's the next node on a shortest path, so it's always going to be good advice. And that part of the system is done using the magic of BDDs. So we're not doing any we're not doing any search. All the search stuff has been pre-computed, and I'm actually gonna get this missile upgrade. And you can see that the yellow thing knows where the missile is. It knows I'm at the missile, and it's updated the golden thing to go to the charge beam next, which is an item that I need. We're going to defeat the DLC's boss Spore Spawn. I actually can do the early supers tech, but unfortunately the internal representation, like I said before, won't be happy if I do that, because it's not... yeah. And that's something that I could change that internal representation and say, like, oh, you can get this super missile item early, and then you'd have to do a bunch of extra pre-computation to build up the model again. But once you have that model, it would be able to handle that particular glitch. Unfortunately, since we don't have that yet, we're going to have to actually fight Spore Spawn, which is a pain, but yeah, hopefully... Oh, you can see here it's not giving me good advice about where to go. I should be going up to the ceiling of this room, but I think I have an inkling about why that's happening. At the moment, it doesn't know anything about where the bosses are because all the items are being detected. Sorry, I need to pay attention a little bit. All the items are being detected automatically by looking at the code of the game. So it knows where the missile upgrades are, it knows where the super missile upgrade is, it knows that kind of stuff, because it can just look at the game's memory, or not the game's memory, the internal representation, the assembly code, the game, and figure out where those things are. But, or not figure out, it's like hard-coded, but it can parse the game and figure out where all the items are. But for the bosses, there's no additional representation of where the bosses are. So right now the internal system is saying, you know, you need to go to Spore Spawn because Spore Spawn has the key to unlock the door to this room effectively. But it doesn't know where Spore Spawn is, so it falls back on wherever it told me to go last, which is kind of a bad fallback because, you know, it's telling me to leave the room and I can't do that. But you'll see that once we actually defeat Spore Spawn and get the advice will update. Or maybe I have to go to the top door of the room. Anyway, whenever I get there, this line is going to update, and then we'll be good. Right now, I'm also displaying a yeah. So it looks like I actually have to go to the top of the room. Which is kind of unfortunate. That's something that I should probably fix, but anyway. Okay, now that I'm at the top of the room, you know, I have the it's updated the advice. Now it's telling me to fall down here, which is great. And then I get super missiles down here. Yeah, so making some kind of internal representation of where all those bosses are would solve that problem, and just hard code each boss location into the automatically parsed array of all the different node locations. It's also looking at the ROM to figure out where all the doors are and map them onto the internal representation that it uses for the logic. And that process is also... there's some cases where it thinks a node is in a certain location, but it's actually in a different location. So those things are all things that need to be hard-coded. But other than that, all the data representation stuff at this point is parsed automatically, and there's no human involved, which is pretty neat. Yeah, now it's telling me to go across the new bridge. Which is testing whether you know how to use the run button. Which I do, so that's great. Yeah, and you can see it's eventually planning for me to get X-ray, which is a little weird because you don't actually need X-ray to finish the game. So you might be wondering, like, okay, is this thing really computing shortest paths? Because X-ray isn't on a shortest path. At the moment, I'm just asking it to compute, like, basically I choose the ending scenario ahead of time. So um, it has kind of like a set of feasible goals, which are like, you defeated Mother Brain, you're at the ship. There's some set of possible item sets that you could have. Oops. Yeah. And Spazer is one of the items that you can have or not have in that set. Anyway, I choose one of the sets arbitrarily, so I think it probably decides, like, I think at the moment the like arbitrary decision thing is probably just setting all the bits to 1. So that means it's finding a shortest path to an end state that requires all the items in the game. And I think it may even, like, we can actually look whether it's planning to... it looks like it's actually not planning to get Spring Balls, so maybe it's not arbitrary. Maybe it's just... Oh, Crate's Room is missing. I need to add that. I don't know why that's missing. Oh, I think I know, but anyway. Yeah, Crate's Room is missing somehow. But, anyway, that set is arbitrary and, not particularly exciting. Here's actually something. So, like, we can go defeat Crave right now. This jump that I just did is something that's in the logic. But I'm curious what happens if I decide, like, nah, I'm good. I actually want to get high jump first. So let's find out together what happens. You can see this elevator is used quite a bit in the plan. So it's still telling me to go up because it's further to high jump. But I bet if I go down here, yeah, see, now it's updated the plan because I'm close to high jump, and it's like, well, actually, the best thing to do is probably to go get high jump boots, which I think makes perfect sense. So let's do that. This is illustrating that it has some idea about what the shortest path is, but it can reason about lots of shortest paths, and in fact, all shortest paths that are valid in the internal representation. And so as soon as I make a decision that's like off of what it says, it can adapt to that decision and actually update where I'm meant to go. Okay, now it says, you grab the high jump boot, that's great, but you still need to go fight Craig. Which is right, because I don't have Various Suit and I can't get through these heated sections without Various Suit. That's another thing that obviously a skilled player can get through these sections without Various Suit. And if I... Oh, I need to defeat this stupid Sova. Or Nova. Anyway. If I did that, I would break it, because it's not expecting me to be able to get through the heated rooms without Varia. That's something where if you compile a more generalized model, I think you could probably avoid that problem, and it would allow for basically arbitrary sequence breaks. But at the moment, the model that I have doesn't allow for that. So I just have... and now I don't have to do that hard jump. I could just jump up here, so there was a point to grabbing it. Anyway, that's the Super Metroid player assistance system. Obviously, for most players, you don't necessarily... Oh, yeah. This is another problem where it didn't actually detect that I reached that node because of how large this door is, so I need to actually do a little more there to get it to figure out that I went to that node. Yeah, that's something that can easily be fixed as well. It just needs to be a little bit more lenient with when it's counting whether you're at a node or not. Anyway, for most players, this is something that, like, you know, if you're playing Super Metroid for the first time and you like part of the gameplay experience is getting lost. You don't necessarily want this thing that just tells you exactly where to go, right? But I think there's a lot of value in a system like this, especially for randomizers, because the internal data representation is basically agnostic to, like, it can just read whatever files I have and read the game's code. It's definitely possible to automatically process a randomizer file and then build a map that is kind of specific to that randomizer file. And if a player is getting lost in that randomizer, it will tell them where to go. And it can handle, like, you know, arbitrary combinations of rooms. It can handle map rando. It's not, like, immediately ready to handle map rando, but there's a way that you could convert a map rando ROM to the same representation that this thing uses, and then get some advice about where to go. Obviously, this nice map file in the background is not going to serve you, and then the file that's showing where each of the rooms are is going to change, but there's relatively little work involved in updating it for one of those, and I think that's pretty cool. Obviously, we got this nice long green path showing us that we need to go to a speed booster, so let's get going, I guess. And we may have the same problem here where it just doesn't detect. Yeah, we have to get a little bit closer for it to detect that we actually went to that node. I'm gonna get this energy tank. Another limitation of this system at the moment is that it knows that you need at least one energy tank because there's some places where having an energy tank is useful. But it has no idea that you need 3 energy tanks to beat Mother Brain. And so that's another limitation. The internal representation doesn't have a notion of having, like, multiple missiles or multiple super missiles. And so it won't give you any advice about, like, oh, maybe you should pick up this super missile expansion that you're right next to, or maybe you should pick up that missile expansion that you're right next to. It knows where those things are, but it doesn't know that they would actually be good to pick up, because obviously picking up unnecessary items is just adding nodes to your path those items don't do anything because they're just redundant. Obviously, they're not just redundant. It's good to have more energy tanks. It's good to have more missile packs. It's just not required. So that's another thing that would be nice to change in future versions. But at the moment, it's fine. I'm just going to get the speed booster and then I think stop. But you can see based on these gray lines that the system genuinely does have an idea about how to get to Mother Brain, which involves beating all 4 bosses, all 4 major bosses. Owned in this room. Anyway, that involves beating all 4 major bosses, which requires a lot of routing. It's mostly based on the kind of what a casual playthrough of this game would look like. Obviously, that jump isn't something that would be in a casual playthrough. But it knows that jump is possible, so it decided, that's shorter than going the long way around. Let's do that instead. That would be another thing that would be nice to add, would be kind of multiple logics based on how skilled of a player you are, so that the, most skilled one won't break if you do some normal sequence breaks that most people who are speedrunners of this game know how to do. Then you could have, an even easier logic that doesn't include that specific jump, because Obviously, a novice player is never going to be able to do that. Or not never, but like, yeah, it's not good to have the plan be like, okay, now just like do this incredibly hard jump. Like, it's better if the novice player logic is requiring more basic techniques. I'm not actually gonna pick up speed booster because then the lava's gonna come for me. I don't know. I guess we can just go. Anyway, I want to close out on a kind of like discussion. So. You can see it wants me to get Ice Beam next, which is a worthy goal. Here I have kind of a here it has kind of a choice about what to do because I could, you know, obviously get Wave Beam next. I could. It looks like it doesn't even want me to pick up Wave Beam in this playthrough. That's interesting. There's no real reason to that Wave Beam would ever be required, I don't think. So, that seems fine, I guess. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you don't need Wave Beam to beat the game. Just like you don't need Spring Ball to beat the game, and it looks like it doesn't want me to get Spring Ball, so that's cool. We can just look around on this map. It looks like the next, I mean, I don't actually know, but it looks like the next thing would be going up the red tower, getting power bombs from alpha power bombs. That makes sense. And then going to the wreck ship to fight Phantoon. Going to gravity to get gravity suit. And then, oh, where do we go from here? Oh, we go back. It looks like it doesn't want to go to Forgotten Highway. It looks like it wants us to go back down this shaft. Yeah, one of the other limitations is right now these overlapping lines are overlapping. They're exactly in the same place, so you can't actually see when there's multiple different paths that go to the same spot. But anyway, it looks like we were gonna go down and then open up this glass tunnel in Meridia, and then do Meridia, go find, you know, go beat Botwoon, skip the Botwoon energy tank. Why would you need that? Go fight Dragon, go get Space Jump. Okay, I want Space Jump. That's another one that's not strictly required, but, you know, like I said at the beginning or earlier, it's like deciding a set of feasible items. So it's perfectly fine for it to decide at the beginning it wants to get Space Jump and then make a plan that's going to get Space Jump as quickly as possible. Yeah, then it looks like we go back down and fight Ridley. We just leave. We don't get this energy tank. Yeah, that's another energy tank that, like, why would you want that, right? And then looks like we're going to leave Norfair. We're going to go back through here. We're going to take another one of these many lines doing the Norfair elevator. I guess at that point we're going to go get X-Ray. I guess we could get X-Ray on the oh, we're going to get like Ice Beam, and then I guess it wants us to get Grapple. Oh. Okay, well that's no, that's on the way back. Yeah, okay. We're gonna get Ice Beam, then it wants us to go get Grapple Beam. Interesting. Interesting. And then okay. And then I guess there's a real choice about, I don't know which order it wants us to do this, because we can get X-Ray basically on right after we get power bombs, but I guess it's faster to do it on the revisit after we fight Ridley. We can just get power bombs on our way back up out of here, and I think that that's probably what it wants us to do. And then go back up here. Oh, go through Gauntlet because it's yeah, interesting. This is a product of the way that the internal representation works. obviously it's if you want to get down to these golden statues, which is where you need to get Mother Brain, it's faster just to like run across here and um, go through the bottom part of this. But the system doesn't know that it's hard to actually go through Gauntlet. So it's just like, oh, well, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 nodes. That's the same length as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 nodes. So, you know, they're both the shortest path, and it just chose the top one arbitrarily. Um, that's something you could fix if you wanted to like annotate the difficulty of every single segment in the game, but that seems like a lot of work. So it's actually fine if it's telling you to go through Gauntlet. At that point, you have all the items you need to traverse this section, so I don't see a problem with that. Then it looks like we go through all the Metroid rooms. We fight Mother Brain. There's no annotation for fighting Mother Brain because it doesn't know where Mother Brain is, but you could add that, I guess. Yeah, let me just go right through these two walls. That's another limitation is it doesn't know anything about the internal geometry of every room. So all these lines are just like go from this door to that door, and you know that's fine, but it's not ideal. And then we just do these three segments to escape. And we don't save the animals because it doesn't know that the animals exist or how to save them. That would be another thing that you could add to the internal representation, and then you know maybe it would arbitrarily require the animals or not. But anyway, that is the kind of like version 1.0 Super Metroid Planning Assistant, and yeah, that's the end of the video.